Mark Zuckerberg just dropped a bombshell, like the kind of bombshell that makes you wonder if he's finally done playing around in the metaverse, and decided to face some real-world issues. In a statement to the House Judiciary Committee, he revealed that the Biden administration pressured Facebook, now Meta, to censor COVID-19 content back in 2021. But wait, it gets juicier. Zuckerberg also admitted that suppressing the Hunter Biden laptop story was a mistake. Yep, the man who's usually more interested in virtual reality than actual reality is now telling us his company played censor police. But hey, better late than never, right? Or maybe it's just convenient timing. Who's to say? Let's rewind to the summer of 2021 when the Biden administration decided that misinformation was public enemy number one. They pointed fingers at Facebook as if they were on a game show, and the only answer was big tech. President Joe Biden even accused Facebook of killing people because they allowed vaccine misinformation to run wild. And hey, when your approval ratings are slipping, what's easier than blaming social media, right? Press Secretary Jen Psaki and Surgeon General Vivek Murthy also jumped on the bandwagon, claiming Facebook wasn't doing enough. Facebook, feeling the pressure like a kid caught sneaking candy before dinner, responded by aggressively censoring content, even satire. Yes, humor and satire, folks. Because when things get serious, apparently the last thing we need is a laugh. Now, here's where it gets even better. Zuckerberg's admission shows this wasn't just Facebook's decision. Nope, the White House was all over them, repeatedly pushing Facebook to take down content, even when it meant going beyond their usual boundaries. And we're not talking about a polite suggestion. This was pressure, and it went on for months. Zuckerberg said his teams faced constant frustration from the administration when they didn't comply. It's like being stuck in an endless email chain with your boss demanding updates, except this time it's the government breathing down your neck about what millions of people get to see. No pressure, right? So, why is Zuckerberg coming clean about this now, 3 years later? Is he finally growing a conscience? Or is this just a strategic move? Given that the House Judiciary Committee, currently led by Republican Representative Jim Jordan, has been investigating government influence over big tech, Zuckerberg probably saw the writing on the wall. With Republicans holding more power, Zuckerberg likely figured it was time to switch teams, or at least appear neutral. He even expressed regret for not speaking out sooner, saying Meta would resist similar demands in the future. Oh, how brave of him. It's always easier to act like a hero once the dust has settled and the power dynamics have shifted. But hold on, because the Hunter Biden laptop scandal is where this whole thing gets really spicy. Flashback to October 2020, right before the presidential election. The New York Post dropped a bombshell story about corruption allegations involving Hunter Biden. The Biden campaign dismissed it as Russian disinformation, faster than you can say cover-up. Facebook, terrified of a repeat of the 2016 election fiasco, decided to limit the story's reach while it waited for fact-checkers to do their thing. Classic Facebook move. We're not saying it's false, we're just going to hide it until someone else tells us it's okay. And of course, as it turned out, the story wasn't Russian disinformation at all. It was legit. But by then, the damage was done. Facebook's actions had essentially buried a story that could have influenced the election. Zuckerberg now admits it was a mistake. He revealed that the FBI warned Facebook of a potential Russian disinformation campaign targeting the Bidens. So, naturally, Facebook decided to play it safe. Or rather, they panicked and pulled the plug on the story's visibility. In hindsight, Zuckerberg says the FBI's warning may have been an overreaction and that censoring the story was unnecessary. It's since been made clear that the reporting was not Russian disinformation. And in retrospect, we shouldn't have demoted the story, he said. Zuckerberg's doing some serious backpedaling here, folks. He's assuring Representative Jordan that Meta has changed its policies to prevent this kind of censorship from happening again. For instance, they won't be demoting content in the US while waiting for fact-checkers. Translation, we'll try to be a little less paranoid next time. But you have to wonder, are they really trying to fix their mistakes, or is this all just damage control? Because if history is any indicator, big tech companies only seem to change when it suits them. And speaking of damage control, remember the 2020 election and the whole Zuckerbucks controversy? Zuckerberg's Chan Zuckerberg Initiative donated $400 million to support election infrastructure. It was pitched as an act of philanthropy, an attempt to help during a time of crisis. But critics weren't buying it, especially on the Republican side. They called it a sneaky attempt to influence the vote. And now Zuckerberg is promising neutrality, saying he won't make any more contributions this election cycle. He claims he wants to avoid even the appearance of influencing the election. How noble of him. Because, it's not like dumping hundreds of millions of dollars into election infrastructure 2 years ago could ever be seen as meddling. No, not at all. But seriously, why now, Mark? For many people, the damage is already done. The Hunter Biden story was buried at a critical time, and who knows how that influenced the election results. And let's not forget about the COVID-19 disinformation suppression. When does government advice become coercion? And who's actually running the show? Big tech or the White House? These are questions that go beyond Zuckerberg's confession. They strike at the heart of free speech and government influence. Zuckerberg's confession might sound like a brave stand for free speech, but let's not get too carried away. It's coming from a guy who's trying to appeal to conservative audiences now, the same group that felt their voices were silenced by Facebook's past actions. It's almost like he's saying, hey, remember when we used to censor you? Sorry about that, but we're cool now, right? It's a risky play, especially when liberals still accuse Facebook of not doing enough to curb misinformation, and conservatives think it's in bed with the left. Trying to make everyone happy in this climate is like trying to juggle flaming torches while riding a unicycle. Good luck, Mark. And this doesn't just affect Facebook. What about other tech giants? If Facebook was pressured to censor content, it's likely Twitter, YouTube, and other platforms faced similar demands. This could be just the tip of the iceberg. And being that we're currently in another election year, all eyes are on big tech. Will they stay neutral, or will they cave to political pressure again? And more importantly, who gets to decide what's misinformation and what isn't? Are we just supposed to trust them to make the right call, given their track record? Now, let's just think about this for a second. We've seen governments around the world try to influence what we see online. The US is no exception. When you give one side control over the narrative, where does it end? Are we going to have a Ministry of Truth next? Sounds like something out of a dystopian novel. But hey, maybe we're closer than we think. If the government can lean on tech companies this hard, what else are they pushing for behind the scenes that we don't know about? So, what's your take? Is Zuckerberg's confession just a PR move to save face, or is he genuinely trying to course correct? And should big tech really be playing referee when it comes to what information gets shared, or should they let people make up their own minds? Personally, I'd love to see a platform where users decide what's credible, rather than a bunch of executives influenced by who knows what agenda. Let's dive into the comments below, and if you want to stay updated on stories like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. See you next time, and remember, stay skeptical, stay curious, and don't let anyone control your feed.